ना CNN वाला.
Namaskar, good evening, welcome all friends. Today I have with me Dr. Anand Ranganathan, a stress on Professor Anand Ranganathan. So today we are going to have a discussion with the scientists, not the political scientists. And it is going to be more about science than about anything else. Politics is very close to our lives, so something might drop in. We apologize for that. But basically we'll try to stick to our discussion today. And welcome, Anand.
And thank you, Ratan. Thank you so much. I've always admired, your views on a host of topics, and I think it's a real pleasure and an honor to be on your show. Finally, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your very nice words for me. Because just I heard 2 days back at TV studio cancelled one of my interviews.
Oh, okay. Sorry, the voice broke. Who cancelled it? Some studio?
Some TV studio.
अच्छा.
Yeah.
Oh, cancel क्यों cancel क्यों?
पता है cancel culture है ना, लोग बैठे अभी भी लुटे, ऐसे नहीं होता ना.
तो आपने मतलब 7 साल से आपने डंडा चलाया नहीं ना रतन जी, आपकी गलती भी है ना थोड़ी सी.
नहीं, पर ऐसा नहीं. अच्छा ये है कि हर तरह का चैनल जिसको हम अपना एनिमी भी लोग मानते हैं, मैं तो किसी को नहीं मानता. I've been going every channel. I never had a fight. I never had to walk out. I had to walk out when another person get loud. Twice it happened in Republic. But it's not to do with any political reason, just because of the heckling, continuous heckling. So luckily, even TV channels where people have broken into fights and left this program, I have not. So I had very good relations. And I try not to ruffle the wrong feathers, in the sense that what I have to say, I do say. And not as good as you do, but I try my best.
Did you say continuous heckling कोई BJP spokesperson आ गए थे क्या?
वो आपका किस्मत ज्यादा ही है.
Sorry, no, I was told this is a very freewheeling discussion, तो इसमें हंसी मजाक कर सकता है.
Most welcome.
I hope you don't mind.
Not at all. You know, we were together once in such a show, so it's okay. In fact, 3 days back, I had to stop a BJP spokesperson when he said that नहीं, हम तो हर mythology के supporter जो उनको support करते हैं. There is some issue about some Hindu issue. I said, dear friend, don't call history as mythology.
I saw that.
तो होता है, अपने ही लोग हैं, सब अपने लोग हैं. तो आनंद जी, सबसे पहले I must congratulate you on coming out of very, very tough time. One of the most, it was life-threatening, but it is something that really worth our big bouquets to you for having recovered from such a horrible state. I will not get to the whys and what force of this particular heart attack that you got, because I think pains are not to be really relived. But my question is a little philosophical, that when you went through that phase, when you were under that huge stress, when you were actually under a heart attack and knew you have an heart attack, during that period and once you recovered, you are an atheist. So what an atheist does for us, आस्तिक we have very simple, we say भगवान की दया है, भगवान के ऊपर सब छोड़ देते हैं. But आप किस पे छोड़ते हैं? And how did it affect your life?
Yeah, Ratan ji, first of all, thank you very much for your kind wishes and of so many others. It's really a blessing. I feel really blessed and loved. Actually, काफी देर तक तो मुझे पता ही नहीं था कि मुझे हार्ट अटैक हो रहा है, because वो एंजाइना का पेन was totally new to me. It was a very unreal pain. और जब पता चला कि हाँ कुछ ऐसा हो सकता है, when vomiting started and all that, then I rushed to the hospital. वहां पे जैसा आपने पूछा है, आप एकदम ठीक कह रहे हैं. जैसे एक पॉपुलर सेइंग भी है, you are an atheist till the time your plane starts to go down, but I'm beyond that. I have been an atheist for about much of my life now. I think 25 years or maybe more. I can't really remember. After school, so I have rationalized my life and life of others. Being a scientist helps, because there are axioms that disprove quite concretely the existence of God, in the fact that what God is supposed to do, science tells you that no, this is done through natural processes. So having read all that, having imbibed all that, it has I've rather not weakened my atheism. It has actually strengthened it. So at that time when the doctors were trying to help me out, and it was proving rather unsuccessful, and I said my goodbye to my family members. It was nothing. It wasn't a prayer. I was reconciled that I'm gone. And in fact, I told it to Arihant maybe a week back or so. But that's it. I mean, the mind was at rest. There was a strange peace, because I tried, in the sense, for about 10-15 minutes, telling the doctors what exactly is happening, the pain, and, all those things that the doctors were trying. They were rushing about here and there, and the family members as well. And then after that, a kind of calm descended, and now nothing can be done. So, and at that moment, that is what I think your question is, what were your feelings at that moment, being an atheist? There was a complete peace. There was no request to God. There was no, ki ye ho jaye, I'll be very grateful. Nothing of that sort. But I have to tell you this, that if I'm very honest, which I am, I've said this publicly, that very dear person to me, when my mother, in fact, when, she was suffering from cancer, I did pray, and I said that I will, you are an atheist until your plane goes down. I did want a miracle. And of course, that didn't happen. Cancer is one of the most painful ways to go, and it was really horrible. I still don't want to recollect. It took me a long time to be at peace with what had happened, the cruelty of it. But at that point of time, I did. I'm, to be honest, and why shouldn't I be? Now this is a new lease of life. I don't care. But at that point of time, when I did pray for sorry.
So when you get the new lease of life, how does it change your perspective?
Yeah, there is a very subtle shift, in the sense that I've always been very forthright. You would see from my views, and very objective, because I like to stay true to the principles on which I have been brought up on and then taught. That is basically science. So जैसे मैं science की तरफ से हूँ, लोग कहते हैं ideology क्या है. So and I've said this before, that whenever you make any statement in public, let that be like your dying declaration. I mean, it almost proved true 4 months ago, but I still hold that. जो आपने कहा है, वो आप सच तरीके से कहो. अगर बाद में, even if you're proved wrong, at least you can say that, look, I'm not a hypocrite. This is what I said, and I stand by it. So I don't think there is much of a shift, except that maybe अभी मैंने वो try नहीं की है, fearlessness. A little bit of fearlessness has been injected, because I was, for all practical purposes, I was gone within 10 minutes. And now that I'm here sitting opposite you and talking to you, it is a new lease of life. So, there is an element of fearlessness that comes in. And I was just, harping on that when I prayed to God. It was out of fear. Man clings on to something, a hope, out of fear, and you become more and more of an atheist if you start fearing things less and less and less, and start rationalizing it. But of course, I mean, as you correctly put it when you started, these are all philosophical questions, and philosophy and Hindu dharma, of what little I know, is all questioning, So, and as who was it? I think it was Planck. No, I forget who was it. Sartre, who said, I'm sorry, I can't quite remember. Okay, but he said, I won't die for my beliefs. I might be wrong. So, Bertrand Russell.
Okay, there's a wonderful story by Osho. He had a professor in Jabalpur, and he was teaching. He said the professor was atheist, a communist, and he heard that he's not well. So he went to meet him. And the guy was continuously doing Ram, Ram, Ram. So Osho asked him that, sir, आप तो नास्तिक है, तो आप ये राम का नाम क्यों ले रहे हैं? बोलता जीवन भर नास्तिक रहा, पर अब जाने का समय आ गया है. क्या पता भगवान हो.
Yes. No,
Yeah.
so, for example, you are Anantamurthy. Anantamurthy was avowed communist and an atheist all his life. But, by the way, there is a distinction between atheism also, Ratanji.
Yes.
I am a Darwinian atheist, who comes from a scientific perspective. The communists are different kind of atheists. Their religion is communism. तो वो जब अपने आप को एथिस्ट कहते हैं, that is not true atheism. That is clinging to their God in the sense their God and their ideology is Marx and or Lysenko, for example. So they're quite anti-Darwinian in many ways. If you look at the Darwin's theory of evolution, it negates for huge chunks and purposes communism itself. So there are two different kinds of atheism.
Yeah. So now coming to brass tacks, I forgot to introduce Dr. Professor Anand Ranganathan. He is a hardcore Delhiite. He is St. Stephen's graduate. He is a PhD from Pembroke College, University of Cambridge. He also has honorary MA from the same place. He has won various awards and Young Scientist Award in World Economic Forum, then Indian National Science Academy, Pembroke College Scholarship, Cambridge Nehru Centenary Scholarship. And he has many peer-reviewed journal articles and papers. He has written 3 books, all fiction. I hope you come up with a book on science. So very wonderful, very powerful, credentials as a scientist. And of course, he's in JNU, a place where science has very low place, but he has made it look good now. So coming to the actual questions, my first question, Anand, is that the reason why India had lower per capita infections of COVID and higher survival rate, what do you credit it to? You credit it to our lifestyle, our masalas, Ayurvedic kadas, and what is it?
So if we actually now, because sufficient time has passed, Ratanji, almost 1.5 to 2 years. In fact, I think September is the second anniversary because China disclosed to the world, officially disclosed in December, but I think September 2019 was the first case that came
out,
if I'm not mistaken. So 2 saal ho gaye. So many theories have come up as to why our death mortality per million is so low compared to other countries. And इस पे National Institute of Immunology ने authoritative काम किया है. Professor Govardhan Das had his own theory. Ultimately, it's a mix of 3 or 4 things. The most prominent among them is that because we have so-called, there is something called hygiene index. So we have a very low hygiene index. That is, we are exposed to a lot of pathogens throughout our life. Our immunity is much more robust. And that is the reason why we have either experienced in some small measure, our body fighting against some sort of neo coronavirus or something very closely resembling, this family of viruses. And that is the reason why our immunity is.
I can hear you.
Yeah. So that's basically it, in the sense that we have been traditionally exposed to a lot of pathogens. Our immunity is much more robust. Many theories also have pointed to, for example, vitamin D being essential for thwarting a viral infection. But the evidence there is not as concrete as the NII paper that I
cited. And just to summarize, what do you think during all these 1.5 years, what went right and what went wrong? Some people said lockdown jaldi kar diya. Some people said lockdown late kar diya. Some people said that wave 2 was our mistake. Some people said wave 2 was anyway coming. So overall, the management from government side, from medical fraternity and scientists, what went wrong and what could have been done better?
So because I think, yes, and I'm talking purely as a scientist, not wearing not giving any political analysis. I think a lot of things went spectacularly right, and the government and a lot of people have to be congratulated. I think the vaccine, the fact that we have now vaccinated around more than 800 million people is just phenomenal achievement. I would not, like to count China in it, because China ke numbers ko trust karna is like ridiculous, So people say China has vaccinated more people. I just don't trust their numbers. If you remember, for 1.5 years, their deaths were just stuck at 70,000 or something, or, nobody was even thinking about that. So the fact that we have vaccinated so many, the fact that we have our own vaccine is a great achievement. The fact that we are manufacturing a foreign-made vaccine and we have manufactured so many doses of it, again, is a fantastic achievement. But building up on that, there have been many things that we could have done that went wrong, and B, that we could have, because of our strong base, we could have really capitalized on it, that we haven't. And there's nothing that I'm saying new. I've been saying this, making these apolitical statements for the last 1.5 years. So there's nothing new here. And the primary among them was, Ratanji, that we have been acknowledged by the world as a vaccine hub. India is a vaccine hub. And I take this example that on 11th of January, 2020, the sequence of the coronavirus was made public. And on 12th of January, Moderna had already made the vaccine, the RNA vaccine. And they had started, in mid-Jan, they have started, their phase trial. So I think we lost about 2 or 3 months. If you look at, for example, Covaxin, which is a chemically inactivated vaccine. We got the strain 3 months after, or 2.5 months after America got the strain. There was no reason why, we had that strain 2 months later. What that did was that after all those phase trials and all that, when the emergency use authorization or EUA was given to Covaxin, for example, it was, I think, Jan 1st. So, we could have pulled it at least 3 or 4 months before that. And had we done that, what we are seeing right now, that we have vaccinated 800 million people, we could have, managed to vaccinate a lot more people before Jan 1st. So
but
I think we
generally, the view has been that the government is trying to hurry it up, and actually it is not possible. But you are saying it was possible.
Not only was it possible, I think it is wrong what people are saying, that the government was trying to hurry it up. We were not trying to hurry it in the sense, okay. So if you look at, the previous experiences of vaccine. So first of all, this is a completely new uncharted territory, because a vaccine from manufacturing idea to manufacture to approval takes about 6 to 7 years, sometimes, a decade. So you can't really compare it with any other vaccine that humans have made before. You really can't. If you look at what we've done for this vaccine and what other nations have done, there, I don't think we were hurrying it up at all. I think we were, the phase trials were continuing. In fact, when the EUA was given, the Covishield phase trials with Indians was not yet out in public domain. So we weren't, I think we were doing very well in that sense. I don't think we were doing anything very different from what the Americans were doing or any other country was doing. It's just, you have a lot of naysayers in our country, हर चीज पे चिल्लाना, EUA क्यों दे दिया, rules पढ़े नहीं है, rules में था वो सब. So all those things have been discussed. और हम वैक्सीन नहीं लगाएंगे, बीच में ये भी था, politicians कह रहे थे, do we trust these vaccines? Ultimately, it has turned out that, Covaxin is one of the best vaccines available. And all the phase trials have been done, safety issues have been done, everything has been addressed. पर अभी भी लोगों को वो लगता है कि, हमने बनाई है तो अच्छी नहीं होगी. This kind of mentality has to go. I mean, science don't inject politics, or your agenda in science. So, which is what a lot of people were doing, especially from the opposition side. So I don't think, in fact, we should have hurried it up. I think October में हमें vaccines authorize कर देनी चाहिए थी, जो हमने ultimately Jan में करी. तो वो 2-3 महीने, तो वो मेरा एक criticism रहा है. दूसरा criticism रहा है, वो actually वो एक बहुत ही न्यूएंस्ड वे है, जिसपे ज्यादा साइंटिफिक डेटा नहीं है. वो लॉकडाउन पे, कि लॉकडाउन कब लगाओ, कब उठाओ, किस बेसिस पे लगाओ. वो I have always felt there has to be a scientific basis, because as you know, Ratan ji, कोई भी ब्यूरोक्रेट जो है, उसकी तो सैलरी आ रही है ना महीने महीने.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल.
उसको तो कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा, उसका तो जॉब परमानेंट है. तो उसको कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा कि कितने जो रेस्टोरेंट चला रहे हैं, जो ढाबा है जिनका, जो होटल्स है, ट्रैवल इंडस्ट्री, टूरिज्म इंडस्ट्री, और इतने सारे सारी इंडस्ट्रीज दैट आर लिंक्ड टू जब लॉकडाउन हटेगा, उस पे उनका सर्वाइवल डिपेंड करता है.
Now see, those was so strange that small shops will remain closed, e-commerce will work, restaurant will open 4 hours, not for 8 hours, because people are getting in and going out. They are inside only for half an hour. So this entire game of lockdowns, etc., I never understood the logic. There are some sly remarks, but I think this needs to be much more well qualified, because this is not the end, I believe. So
this is not the end. You're absolutely right. In fact, अभी भी अगर आप देखें अमेरिका में, अभी भी every day for the last 3 weeks, 2,500 to 3,000 people are dying every day. Right. And this is when most of their vulnerable population has been vaccinated.
Right.
So we haven't won. In fact, I would say go so far as to say that we've actually lost the battle against COVID. Where we have won in a limited sense is that people who have been vaccinated, I mean, the UK major experiment has shown that people, the mortality rate is very low. So people are still getting infection. They are still going to the hospital, but they're not dying, which
Right.
is a big plus. But
Right.
I asked you, if you made a vaccine, let's say polio vaccine or smallpox vaccine, and in order to sell it to people, you said कि देखो आप ये वैक्सीन लगाओगे, आपको इन्फेक्शन जरूर होगा, लेकिन आप मरोगे नहीं. पोलियो हो जाएगा, आपको स्मॉल पॉक्स हो जाएगा, लेकिन आप मरोगे नहीं. तो आप लेते वो वैक्सीन.
सही बात.
So the success of a vaccine is that you should not be infected. It is to curb infection. So we failed in that in large measure. But
that's globally true.
I'm talking only of globally. अगर आप Pfizer को देखें, इजराइल में Pfizer efficacy now after Delta variant is now reduced to 39-40%. अब अभी तो डेल्टा वेरिएंट है. अगर मान लीजिए कल जो है रतन जी कोई और दूसरा वेरिएंट आ जाए which is 100 times more lethal than Delta. So the point is this is natural evolution, and this has taught us a huge lesson. कि we were so patronizing towards other species. Humans are. In fact, अगर आप देखें, there's humans in biology, there is something called a tree of life. तो उसको अगर आप 1880s में देखें वो ट्री ऑफ लाइफ, तो वो सारे ऑर्गेनिजम्स बनाए हुए हैं ब्रांचेस में, और ऊपर मैन बैठा हुआ है, like he is on the top of the pyramid. और अगर आप अब देखें असली ट्री ऑफ लाइफ कैसा लगता है, so we are just one of the 6,000 odd organism hanging on to a branch somewhere जहाँ दिखता भी नहीं है. So
exactly that's the next question. The next question, last many years you see all the major disasters, all the infections that come from animals, right from mad cow disease, then you had SARS, then you have COVID. So then what is the lesson?
इसमें सबसे बड़ा लेसन तो
into infection, studying infection, why is it so? Is it to do something with the way we treat animals, or the way we have made it into a very simple food with a lot of toxins and all that? What exactly, why these new infections are all from animals?
So there is a zoonotic transfer, जैसे आप कहते हैं. I mean, obviously, there are organisms and pathogens that infect only animals, and there are those that infect only humans, species specific. But there are those that transcend. For example, China में जैसे wet markets है, जहाँ पे there is a confluence of, or in the sense that there is a cohabitation of different species. So there you can jump. These pathogens infections can jump from one organism, and we have seen this. But so that is not a lesson for us in the sense that has happened since time immemorial. I mean, when you say China should stop the wet market, what essentially you are saying, technically you might be right, but China has had wet markets for thousands of years. आप किसी को कह रहे हैं कि आप तो उससे infection रुक जाएगा, ये कहना conclusively is, I think, foolhardy. Because they might formally stop the wet markets, but they're not going to stop the way they eat, their eating habits. They're not going to stop their shopping habits. वो wet markets underground चली जाएंगी, कहीं भी हो जाएगा, तो virus will jump. The question, where the lesson for us is actually, Ratan ji, you actually put the finger on the pulse, which is कि SARS-1 आपने अभी कहा था हुआ था, 2003 में हुआ था. अगर SARS-1 जैसे ही हुआ था, और जब हुआ था तो of course there was no Twitter, there was no Facebook, there was nothing of this kind of 24-hour news cycle में science center कर गई जैसे SARS-2 में. SARS-1 में ऐसा कुछ नहीं था. But there was a lot of panic. There was a lot of warning systems that were plugged in the scientific fraternities. As a result, a lot of scientists started making the vaccines for SARS-1. Some of my colleagues also started making. लेकिन क्या हुआ, 6 महीने बाद SARS-1 गायब हो गया. तो गवर्नमेंट ने सारी फंडिंग रोक. अब आप बीच में वैक्सीन बना रहे हो. अब अगर हमारे पास SARS-1 की वैक्सीन होती ना, तो पहले 6-7 महीने जो हमने SARS-2 से जूझा है विदाउट वैक्सीन, विदाउट वैक्सीन जो हमने, we have struggled with SARS-2, we could have saved so many lives, because SARS-1 is very similar to SARS-2, especially the spike protein, 70-80% similarity. अगर वो लेके हमने SARS-1 की वैक्सीन बनाई होती, we could have used it here. In fact, people have studies have shown कि जो neutralizing antibodies SARS-1 के spike protein के against बनी थी, they are neutralizing SARS-2 का spike protein.
Right.
So the lesson is कि short term view governments ने कहा अरे भाई अब तो देखो ये pandemic चला गया है, अब हम क्यों और मैं इंडिया की क्रिटिसिज्म नहीं कर रहा, अमेरिका में भी कहाँ वैक्सीन है, SARS-1 की वैक्सीन यूरोप में भी नहीं है, कहीं पे भी नहीं थी, but lot of people started it. So we stopped that program. America stopped that program. China stopped that program. There was no vaccine against SARS-1. If there was, we could have saved so many lives. So that's number one. Don't.
Question. You talked of funding. So why is it that TB has been much bigger killer than so many other diseases? And you have a team which works on TB.
Yeah.
So TB got less funding, less attention than what AIDS got. COVID got more attention than what AIDS now was getting. And of course, TB is nowhere poor cousin of all this. It is much bigger killer. So what decides the funding? Forget the government. There are also foundations. There are huge foundations like Bill Gates, etc., and many others who offer billions of dollars for research. What attracts funding? Why these kind of long-term killer disease and which are chronic are not really given much attention? And you find attention given to all newborn diseases suddenly, then you lose interest, something more comes up. What exactly defines the funding issue?
That's a fantastic question. Absolutely fantastic. And that's a great question. And I can answer it in two parts, because the answer actually is in two parts. That is what, two things decide the funding. One is scientific and the other is political, believe it or not. ये अगर टीबी आपके अमेरिकन को हो रहा होता, यूरोप को हो रहा होता, जैसे एड्स हुआ था, तो सारी फंडिंग जो है वो टीबी पे ही होती। 70s 60s में तो ये मैं सिर्फ पॉलिटिकल बात कर रहा हूँ, साइंटिफिक में अभी आता हूँ। तो so basically America around 70s 60s 70s, ever since Nixon declared a war on cancer, so America has been gravitating towards non-communicable diseases, lifestyle diseases, because their whole how can I say, the way the body is shaped, the way their nutrition, everything has changed. More and more people have become obese in America. So the diseases that affect Americans are not the diseases that affect a lot of other countries in the world. So you can say it is a political decision, but you can say it is also a sensible decision. That, in America, there is, for example, if there is no case of tuberculosis, why should Americans spend billions of dollars on finding a cure for tuberculosis when most of them are suffering from diabetes or lifestyle diseases or cancer? It makes sense for the government to spend more and more money on non-communicable. So that is what has been happening. Like in malaria, the problem that came was, I said, this is the political issue. Now the scientific one is even more interesting, because
one more thing to political issue, the way we ape the West, suddenly NGOs come up for AIDS, suddenly huge profile, big stars, celebrities start talking about AIDS as if that is the biggest mahamari. That is also political, basically. And I think this is the biggest mistake that our so-called five-star NGOs make, that they try to copy everything that West does. This typical example in the West, even in death.
So, no, bilkul, absolutely. In fact, the lot of or AIDS, आपने AIDS का नाम लिया. If AIDS had not affected America, in the 80s to the extent that it did, now, for example, we would not have seen even 5% of the research that Americans have done on HIV, over the past 30 years. It's a fact of life. I mean, you look at elephantiasis, जैसे आप देखिए, एक disease है, उसपे it is incurable. उसका आपके पास, people are not interested to find cure for it. TB became like that because of the scientific reason that I was coming to. People thought it is now completely curable, because by the late 70s and 80s, we had about first-line antibiotics, rifampicin, 3-4 और थी, isoniazid, ethambutol, 6-7 और थी ऐसी दवाइयाँ, and we thought that, look, we have the drugs, and TB is gone now, so let's forget about it, until the resistance started, and so we were foolish to have ignored tuberculosis for about 10 years. Now in the 90s, through South Africa, especially in America and other Latin America, where HIV started, you see, people did not die of HIV. People died of tuberculosis, because tuberculosis became a very opportunistic infection. Somebody whose immunity was weakened through HIV. TB was almost always there, lurking around. In fact, enough. Most of the Indians already have as a dormant tuberculosis, as Professor Govardhan Das has shown. It hides inside, bone marrow, mesenchymal stem cells, allows it to evade our immunity. So TB was already there. It's just that it took a backseat. When HIV came, our immunity went down. Then there was a huge resurgence of TB. And as a result, it can thought, oh my God, now we need to spend money on TB research. तो जितना उस पे था HIV था, उसका थोड़ा सा फिर शेयर टीबी पे आया. बट अभी भी अगर आप देखें रतन जी, टीबी पे अगर कोई भी ड्रग आएगी, अमेरिकन फार्मास आर नॉट इंटरेस्टेड एट ऑल. दे नॉट, बिकॉज दे नो that as the example of HIV in South Africa has shown, right? Now, here I'm still undecided as to what happened, how the world treated the American pharma companies. Jaise South Africa mein hua tha, the drugs were given at a fraction of what the American companies were charging for them. Is that ethical? Is that moral? I mean, you have an American company that has spent billions of dollars in R&D to come up with an anti-HIV drug, right? Now it is selling it for $30 in America, but the same drug South Africa and the world says, you sell us for 30 cents because people are dying here. Now, is that moral? Is that ethical? You can say at some level, look, people are dying, so it is ethical. But on some other way, the company can hit around and say, look, we are the one who spent billions of dollars in developing this drug. What is our incentive if tomorrow we spend, let's say, $50 billion in coming up with a super anti-TB drug, but because we don't have any tuberculosis patients here, Indians say that no, we will give this drug instead of $10 per pill, 10 rupees per pill. So there's a lot of economics, politics, science that governs where funding should happen and which disease should be funded. It's a very fascinating subject, and I encourage you to call a few other people who are in policy making, health and all. This would be a wonderful discussion.
Yeah, because I believe aping the West is not the way. That you talked about this issue of research, R&D, etc. Now, for example, the IPR issue of the COVID drug. Right. India has been saying that we should release the IPR, and let people have the vaccine at low cost while companies desist. So that is same moral question that you have asked. But is it not right that when India says, typically like Indian mindset, that for this life-threatening pandemic, we should relax the IPR issue? What do you say on that?
Yeah, मैंने वही कहा कि personally left to me, after 2001 or 2, there was a switch in my brain that I decided I am not going to patent anything. Any of the discoveries that my lab makes, okay, I wouldn't. But I'm not saying that patenting is wrong. Absolutely not. There are people, who should patent because that is how you generate money. After all, it is your idea. And if your idea is minting billions, you should get a share of it because then it is up to you to channel that share into discovering more things. But there are people, for example, Fred Sanger, 2-time Nobel laureate, he discovered DNA sequencing and protein sequencing. He didn't patent it. Miles Steen, who discovered monoclonal antibodies, he would have been trillionaire. He didn't patent it. Then closer home, World Wide Web, the inventor Tim Berners-Lee, right. They asked him, why didn't you patent? He said, it would have been like patenting the sun. In fact, Jonas Salk.
This is typically, I think this is typical Hindu way of looking at intellectual rights.
Yes, but in fact, so, on one level you can say, ah, bhai, aapne to bahut achhi baat keh di, dil ko chhu gayi, but on the other hand, there are civilizations that have prospered through a moral charging of, of using capitalism. And for example, I can take so many examples of drugs. Why shouldn't the pharma company that has discovered that drug patent it? I mean, because it's not just it is making one drug. After it earns that money through making that one drug, it has gone on to make 200 drugs. So, patenting helps. So I'm not against patenting. It's just that I have decided, वो मैंने अपने thesis में शुरू में ना एक quote लिख दिया था कि ऋग्वेदा का कि all that is not shared is lost. अब अगर मैं patent करना शुरू कर दूं तो लोग कहेंगे अपने thesis में जो लिखा है तूने इतना बड़ा hypocrite क्या हो सकता है तो उस चक्कर में I don't patent.
I think
that's on a lighter side. But,
considering the way the world is moving toward disasters, whether it's natural disaster, epidemic disaster, or pandemics, we have to leave aside this IPR issue and we have to work collectively and share knowledge. I think that is the only way out. This brings me to a very serious issue, that is international issue. I'll not get into the source, whether, talking of source, there are two issues. One is political. That is why people are afraid to talk from which was the source of COVID. Second is scientific issue. It will not affect, that from where it originated now, it's immaterial now, it's no more material anymore. But should humanity pay the price for somebody being careless or deliberately careless? What is your view?
सो आई थिंक इसमें जैसे मेरा व्यू ये है, अभी भी मैं कन्विंस 100% कन्विंस नहीं हूँ कि ये मैन मेड है. मतलब आई एम even though a lot of American scientists are now coming out after 1.5 years, especially some Nobel laureates, Baltimore as an example, saying that this is smoking gun, this region and all that stuff. I am not 100% convinced, but I am convinced that it leaks from the lab. Now, the question is, you see, if it leaked from the lab, uh, should China pay a huge price for it if it was an accident? Now, you can say that if it was an not a willful act of leakage, uh, then perhaps not. I mean, you could build a case कि भाई इसमें देश की क्या गलती है. चाइना की 100% गलती है कि उन्होंने वो छुपाया 2 महीने
Exactly.
तक. जो
Exactly.
वुहान में जो ट्रैवल होता रहा, millions of passengers went from and to Wuhan airport around the world. So obviously China tried to hide that, and in that process it spread the virus, so it is culpable in that. As far as the leakage, if it was an accident, then I don't think I mean, of course you must go behind the reasons as to why that caused. Were there any protocols that were not? So उसका आप एक एनालॉजी जैसे लेना चाहें रतन जी, तो आप भोपाल गैस ट्रेजेडी ले सकते हो. अब कई लोग कहेंगे कि भाई वो विलफुल तो यूनियन कार्बाइड ने नहीं कराया कि भोपाल वहां से MIC लीक हो, but there were many protocols that were not followed, that were ignored, and as a result it caused that accident. So
Right.
it is culpable. So in that sense उसमें कम से कम पर culpability उसमें इतनी ज्यादा नहीं आती है. लेकिन अगर man made है तो China must pay the price. And I think Western press has been giving it so much of leeway. It is absolutely astonishing. अगर इंडिया से कुछ ऐसा हुआ होता तो हमें तो अब तक पता नहीं अमेरिका लैंड कर गया होता रतन जी. Armed forces would have landed in India by now.
So I come to the next point, that is the conspiracy theory, not just China. The way, if you go through any, in fact, I received a whole bundle of notes today saying that ये पूछने के पहले ये पढ़ लो आनंद से बात करने के पहले, which is conspiracy theory starting from Bill Gates' presentation. Right? So this entire story of vaccines being deliberately created and billions are being built, and how this was already predicted, and despite this, all this happened, and vaccine, first they said 1, they said 2 doses, now they say yearly dose. So is it some kind of exploitative pharma game going on? Was it really conspiracy tracing back to the people whom so many people, I mean, at least it is no, they can't say openly, but there are so many papers moving around. You also must have received them. So what do you see the truth behind this? Is it a pharma game that pharma takes advantage? Is it something that there are very negative kind of comments which have been recorded on videos, etc. So this sense of, I don't know what to call it, some kind of supremacist view of life about others' lives, etc. If you have seen those papers, what do you think?
Yeah, तो इसमें जैसे मैं
do you have some credibility to these stories?
I have always believed that Ratanji, that a theorist has to be right every time. A conspiracy theorist has to be right only once. And I originally said it in the context of Dr. Subramaniam Swamy. But you see, the fact is, जैसे आपने Bill Gates की बात करी. Now, most of these theories can very easily be switched to conspiracy theories. अब अगर आप SARS-1, you see, all of us went through SARS-1. Of course, the people who were born after it. So 2003 के बाद, if somebody was born, that person is already 18 years. That's a good chunk of life he's already spent without knowing SARS-1.
I would say that even today's interview, somebody going to pick up bits, you would also seem like a conspiracy theorist.
Right. But SARS-1 के बाद, it is very logical for somebody to say, look, we are going to have a huge pandemic. I mean, it's not something that, I predict. No, people have had pandemic. It's just that, how lethal would that virus be? अब उस पे अगर आप इसको मैं कॉन्स्पिरेसी नहीं समझता कि किसी ने पैंडेमिक प्रिडिक्ट किया. नंबर 2, इसको क्या ये कॉन्स्पिरेसी है कि लिथैलिटी ऑफ द वायरस? अब इसमें आप थोड़ा सा साइंटिफिकली आपको जाना पड़ेगा कि वायरस कैन ओनली बी मेड आइदर इट इज डिस्कवर्ड एज लीथल और इट इज मेड एज लीथल. नाउ यू कैन श्योरली मेक इट एज लीथल, जिसमें जैसे कहा ना कि आपने वो मैं बार बार भूल जाता हूँ, गेन ऑफ फंक्शन अगर आपने वायरस में कर दिया कि वीक वायरस है SARS-1, उसको आपने स्ट्रॉन्ग बना दिया, तो उसमें भी मैं ये लाऊंगा कि यू हैव टू हैव 100% प्रूफ। अब उसमें जैसे बाल्टीमोर ने कहा कि ये जो फ्यूरिन क्लीवेज साइट है ये मेरे लिए स्मोकिंग गन है, मैं उसको नहीं मानता, पर कई साइंटिस्ट मानते हैं। लेकिन मैं आपसे फिर आई टर्न अराउंड एंड आस्क यू दिस कि अभी देखिए पिछले 1 साल में जो हमारे पास डेल्टा वेरिएंट आया है, which is so much more lethal and effective than the original SARS-2 virus, right? It has completely removed SARS original virus, and it is the one which is the major cause of infection around the world. Now, this is not man-made. Delta variant is not man-made. We know it. And how do we know it? Because it has accumulated mutations from the UK variant, from the South African variant, I think from the Brazil. It has 17 odd mutations, and we know humans have not made those mutations. So naturally, through the viral cycle, आपके पास ऐसा एक म्यूटेंट आ गया जो अगर आप पहली बार देखते तो कहते हो माय गॉड ये तो आदमी ने बनाया, इतना लीथल, जो कि हमारी इम्यूनिटी को एस्केप कर रहा है, जो कि 10 टाइम्स ज्यादा स्ट्रांगली बाइंड कर रहा है हमारे रिसेप्टर से, ये तो मैन मेड ही होगा। बट दैट इज नॉट द केस। So in order to actually be 100% sure कि this is man-made और ये conspiracy था, we have to dissociate ourselves from the domain of science. तो कर सकते हैं, बहुत लोगों ने किया, इनफैक्ट बहुत सारे, अगर आप देखें जो HIV जिसने डिस्कवर किया, फ्रेंच, आई फॉरगेट हिज नेम, फ्रेंच नोबेल लॉरिएट, he believes that the SARS virus has the HIV cleavage sites, HIV regions. He believes that. Now, if you remember, लास्ट ईयर इंडियन साइंटिस्ट ने पहला वो प्री प्रिंट भेजा था कि HIV रीजन्स हैं सार्स में, और उनको इतना ब्रूहाहा हुआ कि वो उनको रिट्रैक्ट करना पड़ा, उन्होंने वो पेपर और कहीं भेजा ही नहीं दोबारा। पर दैट नोबेल लॉरिएट बिलीव्स हिम। सो यू नो, अनलेस यू हैव अ एब्सोल्युटली कॉन्क्रीट 100% श्योर दैट इट इज मैन मेड, साइंटिस्ट शुड डिसिस्ट फ्रॉम, बिकॉज अदरवाइज देयर इज नो एंड टू इट। यू नो, आप 10 चीजें ऐसी ला सकते हो, मैं आपको एक बढ़िया सा पेपर लिख के दे सकता हूँ कि दिस इज कंप्लीटली मैन मेड SARS-2.
Now see, then coming to the next issue is that how WHO behaved. Now this is highly political issue. I mean, at least I found it very shady. I found it very. I mean, it tells me that WHO has left no sanctity. It is not even an organization worth a paper. So WHO, the world body, the global body, did not play a positive role at all in terms of controlling the virus, in sense of giving the right information and even talking about vaccine the right way. So, do you think WHO is defunct?
I've started calling it Wuhan Health Organization for a long time. So you know, you're preaching to the convert, but the fact of the matter is the way WHO has behaved, it is shambolic and it is shameful. और मैं ये नहीं कह रहा कि मैं, ये मेरा व्यू है 1 महीना पुराना। अगर आप देखें, आई थिंक मार्च ऑफ 2020, ORF के जो प्रेसिडेंट है या एक्टिंग प्रेसिडेंट है, मुझे पता नहीं, समीर सरन, he wrote a wonderful piece comparing bit by bit the actions that WHO took in the wake of SARS-1 versus the actions that WHO took in the wake of SARS-2, and there's a chalk and cheese difference. So this was WHO, this has been at the behest of the Chinese, there is no doubt about it. मुझे दुख इस बात का होता है कि हम इतने, if you remember, Trump was criticizing the WHO, rightly so, so many people were, लेकिन हम पता नहीं दुबक के ऐसे बैठे हुए, हमने कुछ भी क्रिटिसाइज नहीं किया WHO को, और हमें दिस इज गोइंग टू कम बैक एंड बाइट अस। आई डोंट नो व्हाई वी डिडंट डू इट। अगर आप ये देखें कि अभी तक को वैक्सीन हैज नॉट बीन अप्रूव्ड, अभी तक, इट्स बीन ऑलमोस्ट, you know, 1 year, more than that in fact, since its manufacture. It's been 9 months, 10 months since its use, and millions of Indians have been vaccinated, including our Prime Minister, with Covaxin. WHO has not approved it, और हम चुप बैठे हैं, मतलब हमें कुछ फर्क ही नहीं पड़ रहा।
That is the reason introduced the topic of pharma cartel. You know, pharma cartel seem to have blocked it, and we have not really acted against it. Our pharma lobby,
फार्मा लॉबी, रतन जी, देखिए, अगर इंडियन गवर्नमेंट करने पे उतर आए तो दुनिया की कोई भी लॉबी उसके सामने को, you know, all the Prime Minister has to do is to say, this is, I have taken this vaccine, so have millions of people, it has undergone these testings, it has undergone peer review, there is nothing wrong with it, people are being administered every day as we speak, give it approval. उस पे फार्मा कंपनी आ जाए, वो मैं नहीं मानता। आई थिंक इट इज अवर वीकनेस, अवर ब्यूरोक्रेटिक लेजीनेस, that we don't believe कि इतने लोग जो इंडियन सफर कर रहे हैं, बाहर जाते हैं, उनको पास सर्टिफिकेट नहीं है उनकी वैक्सीन को। अभी आप कोविशील्ड को देख लीजिए, अभी तक जब तक इंडिया ने थ्रेटन नहीं किया था, यूके वाज नॉट रिकॉग्नाइजिंग आवर इंडियन मेड कोविशील्ड। वो अपनी एस्ट्राजेनेका ने जो बनाई है सेम वैक्सीन, वो मान रहे हैं। हमने जो बनाई है एसआईआई में, वो मान नहीं रहे, महीनों से नहीं मान रहे थे। जब डॉक्टर जयशंकर ने कहा कि वी विल रिटेलिएट, that day they said okay we accept it। अभी भी पूरा वो कह रहे हैं कि we don't accept your COVID certificate portal। हाँ, मतलब but you see what I mean। जब तक उनको डंडा नहीं दिखाया था, तब तक कुछ उनको फर्क ही नहीं पड़ रहा था। and as a result so many thousands of Indians who were traveling abroad, their vaccine certificates were not being accepted and we were fine with it until we showed them the stick। तो बार बार कैरेट देना, WHO को भी हमने कितने कैरेट दिए, कोई हमें फर्क ही नहीं पड़ता, हम कभी क्रिटिसाइज ही नहीं करते। आई डोंट नो, वी डोंट स्पीक फ्रॉम अ पोजीशन ऑफ स्ट्रेंथ बिकॉज वी डोंट रियलाइज अवर स्ट्रेंथ। वो रियलाइजेशन आएगी ना स्ट्रेंथ में, वो अभी 10 साल और लगेंगे।
मुझे लगता है कि we have become very assertive in the international arena, but on the scientific issue where we have been supposed to be backward, though we are very forward in science in every area, I think science also needs political muscle. I think that has to be revived, and that is very important for us. And there is a question by one of the persons who was looking at our program. He said, when will it happen that pricing of the pharma companies will be based on cost of production and not on MRP? Now, this is a very tricky question because you will add research cost to the cost of production, and for MRP, you can't do that. So what exactly this is tricky, but how do you look at it? I don't think cost of production in pharma, but what do you say?
Yeah, so this is actually interestingly linked to what we were discussing earlier, half an hour earlier, कि इसमें क्या गवर्नमेंट्स का ये रोल है। बेसिकली आप ये कह रहे हैं कि गवर्नमेंट ये डिक्टेट करे कि किसी ड्रग की कॉस्ट क्या होनी चाहिए। इनफैक्ट मिस्टर अश्वनी महाजन जो हैं, आप जानते हैं उनको, he was of the belief कि वैक्सीन प्राइसिंग should be decided by the government, and I was totally against it. Of course, we disagreed on Twitter, amicably, and that is how debate should be. But I am on the side of the pharma companies deciding what should be the price of their product. The problem comes if there is a monopoly. वो तो हर जगह आती है, अब जैसे सिर्फ एक ही वैक्सीन बनी है, उसमें फार्मा कंपनी डिसाइड करेगी कि इसकी प्राइसिंग क्या होगी, तो जो देयर इज नो कंपटीशन फॉर इट। दूसरा कोई वैक्सीन अगर बेचे 100 रुपए में और ये फार्मा कंपनी 1000 रुपए में बेचे, तो वो कहेंगे कि नहीं भाई, हमारी कोई खरीदेगा नहीं, तो हमें चलो 110 रुपए में बेचेंगे। लेकिन अगर एक ही वैक्सीन है तो वो 2000 में बेचेंगे। So there is anti-cartelization, there are government regulations, but I don't think government should go into deciding the price of any commodity। और इसमें अगर आप एग्रीकल्चर को भी लाना चाहते हैं, MSP लाना चाहते हैं, कुछ उसमें भी ला सकते हैं। गवर्नमेंट का कोई रोल, because we are now going back to USSR and government deciding everything। No, government has no business to be in business। ये मोदी जी ने कहा था, I completely agree with him।
When I used to do ERP at that time, there was this issue of cost pricing of a product. How do you actually come to a cost of a product based on which excise will be charged? It was a very contentious issue. Now, this big pharma being a life-saving or basically life support system, people have these questions. But as you said, this is more to do with issue how you look at morality, how you look at or ethics, not morality, ethics, and how government should come to the picture. Yeah.
और इसमें रतन जी दो चीजें कर सकते हैं कि इसे if there is a middle ground that has to be found। Now, obviously, if there is only one vaccine available and the pharma company is charging 1,000 rupees, now obviously no Indian can afford it। I mean, most of the Indians won't be able to afford it। तो उसमें मेरा कहना क्या ये ठीक है कि फार्मा कंपनी डिसाइड करे, गवर्नमेंट बीच में ना आए। तो उस केस में गवर्नमेंट बीच में आए, वो 1000 में खरीदे और 100 में बेचे, तो जो लॉस है 900 का वो गवर्नमेंट उठाए। मैं ये कहने के लिए तैयार हूं, बट I am not for government regulating the prices।
That is how we came to the dual pricing policy in this COVID vaccine. I think that was a good step by the government. Yeah. There is a question about genetic engineering because it has become, it can be weaponized, it can be used as a very powerful terrorist, weapon. So looking at this, another add to this question is that there is no technical ombudsman, which many people talked about, because science is growing at a very fast pace, faster than the laws. So do you think that scientists should be left entirely without any ethical or without any technical control of what they invent, what they create? like creating, as you know, clones and creating robots which are as good as men, or artificial intelligence which can not work well for every society. So all these questions are very serious questions. But this suggestion of very senior philosophers about technical ombudsman, rather giving science a free hand, whatever they want to do, what is your view on that?
No, that again is a very great question, and it has troubled all scientists for decades. और रीजन उसका क्या है, मैं आपको जैसे वायरस का ही दे दूं कि साइंस में एक पेपर पब्लिश हुआ था जहां उन्होंने पोलियो वायरस को केमिकली सिंथेसाइज किया. So, polio virus का जो genetic material है, that can be synthesized, using a machine in the lab. They did that. They made the polio virus and they showed that it was infective. अब कई लोग उसमें काफी एथिकल की साइंस को, जर्नल साइंस को पब्लिश करना चाहिए था कि नहीं करना चाहिए था. ये अगर किसी टेररिस्ट के हाथ में चला जाए या टेररिस्ट वो बना दे, तो बेसिकली व्हाट यू डूइंग इज यू आर मेकिंग वायरसेस. ऐसा ये केस आया था, क्रिस्पर टेक्नोलॉजी थी. क्रिस्पर में दे वर ट्राइंग टू काइंड ऑफ प्ले अराउंड विद ह्यूमन एम्ब्रियोज. In fact, Chinese scientists succeeded in that as well. But बाद में उसके negative points CRISPR के पता चले कि it was having a lot of off-site debilitating consequences. तो कोई भी नई technology आती है, it raises a lot of ethical and moral issues. And I think until we are absolutely sure of not only its advantages but also its damages, there has to be a moral and ethical question. Science is not removed from the society. Scientists are not, they're no longer working in their garages or in their labs who are completely oblivious to the effect their science would have, to the rest of the society. And nothing exemplifies this more than, this virus. If it is proven concretely that this is indeed is man-made, that humans were fiddling with, this rat G13 coronavirus, and they added the HIV portion and all that, that tells you that they ignored moral and ethical guidelines, maybe for their curiosity or for making it a bioweapon. I don't know, whatever the case may be. But the fact is, you're absolutely right. We should have a universal ombudsman. We don't at the moment. So there is national American, agencies, academies that look at the ethical and moral questions arising out of American science. India has its own. Indian National Science Academy looks at our own. So there is no universal thing. This is something that maybe, World Health Organization should look into.
I was about to say that World Health Organization can be shut down and we can have a new technical ombudsman who only looks at the ethical issues of these kind of discoveries and researches, which can actually destroy the humanity in a way that we will not be humanoids. We will become robots with the human face, human heart, but basically the kind of control that being is played on our bodies and our mind by the artificial intelligence, by various other new forms of life. I think that is much more disturbing than anything else, and these can be much more dangerous than a new found COVID virus or any other new virus that might come in. And I think this needs to be taken up in a very serious manner by all the governments. And as you said, instead of WHO, we could have a technical ombudsman global, where we could try to, there'll be people who say, "Bhaiya, human ingenuity, why are you stopping it?" But I think this moral issue is very important, because sometimes I wonder, in case of AI, it will become people like you at the top would be having a control on the minds of people, creating AI, and everybody else in the society. I used to say menial job become robotic. So they will just get minimum income. They'll sit at home and do nothing, fiddle their thumbs, eat, and become just like animal like. So then what is life? So this entire philosophy of what is life, that is being threatened by the new technology discoveries, and we need to rethink about that. And I think COVID is a time to make you think about it.
Not only that, very well put, Ratan ji, but also I'll add कि अगर आप बाकी robotics की आपने बात करी, आपने AI की बात करी, you see that is very technologically intensive. You need to know a lot about technology to come up with that. लेकिन अगर आप COVID को देखें, अगर ये man-made था, it required just one day of genetic engineering. I or my students could have done it. एक पोर्शन लिया आपने, उसको वहां पे डाला, रिस्ट्रिक्शन एंजाइम से करके आपने एक दिन में आप बना सकते हैं यही वायरस. और अगर मैंने लीक कर दिया, वर्ल्ड को इसने तबाह कर दिया 2 साल में. इट हैज डिस्ट्रॉयड द वर्ल्ड व्हिच नो वेपन और नो कंट्री कुड हैव डिस्ट्रॉयड. और नोबडी कैन होल्ड चाइना रिस्पॉन्सिबल. यू सी, इफ अगर आप कहते हैं कि मेरे पास एक बायो वेपन है या मेरे पास एक फिजिकल वेपन है, मिसाइल है, दैट विल किल 5 million people around the world, that will devastate the world economy. Okay, and if I had done that, nations would have attacked me, my country, right? यहाँ पे who has attacked China? उल्टा हो गया यहाँ तो, you know, nobody has attacked China, and as a result, we have a Chinese virus that has wrecked the world. So this is the ideal weapon if ever there was one. So you are absolutely right. We need an ombudsman who has to decide कि not on highly technologically intensive one like AI or going into the domain of physics or math, but यहाँ तो आपको एक दिन लगेगा आपको, एक दिन भी नहीं लगेगा, मैं आपको बता रहा, I promise you. आधे दिन में you can create a virus that will destroy the world.
So on the thoughtful note and very provocative thinking, I think we'll close this session and let people think and reflect upon what we just discussed. And thank you so much, Anand. It was a wonderful
discussion. Thank you so much.
I hope it provokes people to think more and discuss more.
Bilkul, absolutely. Thank you so much, Ratan. Thank you.